Okay. So good to see everybody. This is our last
Hi,
class.
Misty.
Okay, well, this is our very last class. Oh my goodness. Such an accomplishment to get through all 8 lessons. Well, this one is the absolute best, the one that you need to know if you're going to practice magic, because this one will keep you out of trouble. Rolling Thunder says the principle of cause and effect is at work everywhere, and somebody has to receive the results of everybody's doing. Every thought or action has an effect on somebody. If someone has a destructive thought or wish, it has to have an effect on someone. If it doesn't work on someone else, it works back on the person who created it. Of course, in the end, all people get their own earnings and account for their own debts. Every person is plugged into the whole works. Nobody is outside it or affects it any less than anyone else. You know, they say in school, you get the lesson first and then the test. But in life, you get the test first and then the lesson. So this is a school. That's where we are. This is a school. This world is merely an elementary school for the children of the Great Spirit. All progress in this world is from the purely physical or mortal toward the purely spiritual or mental state of being. From the purely mortal mineral kingdom toward the purely spiritual or perfected human. So, too, is the progress of each individual human from the mortal animal-like toward the purely spiritual or perfected gentle person. All the tribes of animals are helped in their progress by an eternal law of the Great Spirit, which is always at work. This is the law of cause and effect. You know, there's natural laws that are always in effect, and because the Great Spirit has umpteen million planets, and a billion gazillion entities to watch over. He can't micromanage all that. So he has to set up these natural laws that just take effect. He doesn't have to do all that stuff. These are always in effect. So, what is the law of cause and effect? It says every action has an equal reaction. This law was stated in the Bible as whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So, and this means not only um, seeds, but also thoughts and words and deeds. Whatever you put out comes back to you. So we call this the law of cause and effect. The purpose of the law of cause and effect is to teach. It is to teach the person either to repeat whatever actions or thoughts are good or to avoid further unpleasantness by not repeating the thought or action that caused it. So, how do we know what's good? How do you know what if you have a thought or an action that's good?
Good things will be mirrored back to you in your life.
Yes, right. So you feel good too. If you do good, then you feel good, and if you do bad, then you feel bad. You feel like something wasn't right with that. I need to fix that. So we have to go by our feelings. Every thought, word, or deed carries within it the seeds of its own consequence. Many people think that there's a great judgment and somehow the individual's thoughts and actions are constantly monitored by some high authority with the Great Spirit administering their rewards and punishment. But holy cow, that would be micromanaging. And this is just like, you can't do that. There has to be these universal laws that just work regardless. So the Good Medicine Society teaches that corresponding consequences are an inherent quality of the nature of things and require no additional effort. That is, the fire being hot is sufficient to cause the burned hand. So it's an automatic law. It's built into the nature of things. It is in this way that the children of the Great Spirit learn the lessons of harmony, love, and wisdom. Eli taught that the law of cause and effect does not extend between lifetimes because most people do not remember past lives. What do you think about that? Do you think that's true? Do you remember past lives? I have glimpses, maybe this, maybe that, but do I remember the karma that I received from something in the past? That'd be kind of like looking at your elementary school. When you were 5 years old and you went to maybe kindergarten or the first grade, and all the crazy dumb stuff you did back then, and so the purpose of the law of cause and effect is just to teach. You can't go back and think about the stuff that you did in a past life, because that's like looking at yourself when you're 5 years old, or when you weren't as evolved as you are today. And so of course you did crazy stuff because it's who you were back then. But so if you remember those kind of things, then you can bring that karma into this life. So that's why they say sufficient unto the day or the evils thereof. That's what the Bible says. So just what we've got to work with is sufficient for our education. So if one does not remember a thought or action, then its resulting consequence would not teach. So what loving father would punish a child for doing something it doesn't remember? So we can't be punished in this life for something that we did in a previous life. Karma doesn't, you're not punished in this life for something. You look at your past life, the life you just led, and you think, well, now how could I learn better? How could I learn more? What do I need to do to progress even more? And that's why you get born into the family that you are and the social status that you are, is because this is the best place for you to learn whatever it is that you came here to learn. So you wouldn't, whatever is happening to you today is not a punishment from something that happened in the past. It's totally dependent upon your choices in this life. So if you don't like what's going on in your life, then make better choices. So the Great Spirit will not punishment for what we do not know. He will do justice, says Red Jacket, and he's a Seneca. Well, your medicine wheel is a mirror. We talked about that in the last one, that your environment says all your thoughts and actions are mirrored in your environment to teach you the importance of living in a relaxed, loving frame of mind as fitting a child of the Great Spirit. So this is where we get that phrase, as within, so without, because everything is reflecting what you're feeling on the inside. That's why they say dance your way out the door when you go to work, because then you're liable to find people reacting to a good side of you. And you're going to be finding them in the best possible frame of mind too. If you have a good frame of mind, then people mirror what you have, and so they will also. Emmaus Storm says the medicine wheel is the mirroring of the Great Spirit, the universe among men, and we in our turn are the medicines of men mirrored in the universe. Boy, he's got some heavy stuff, he says. You could think about his words for a long time. When your environment becomes unpleasant and difficult, this is a sign that you have strayed from the path of good medicine. Somebody was just telling me today that the place where they worked at for a long time has become not a good place. And so they're thinking, well, now should I change jobs or should I stay here? Well, and so I think that that you can, let's see, you can be going along just fine, and then all of a sudden things change. You can be in the right spot for a long time, and then you're not. Like when I was working at that domestic violence shelter, I'd been there for 9 years. I thought that was a great job. But when Trump got elected, that domestic violence shelters was number one on his list of stuff to frivolous spending to get rid of. And so I thought, well, there goes my job. And then I was living in this house that was a parsonage to a Mennonite church. And I was kind of helping them with stuff. And then they decided to hire this hellfire and damnation preacher that I couldn't stand, made me sick to listen to him. And so there goes my house because I couldn't stay in that house if I didn't go to that church. So I was like, okay, I got to move. I got to go do something different. So what am I going to do? And so I decided, well, I was going to move to Missouri because I've got friends up here. And I thought, well, before I leave, I'm going to check out the college situation because I wanted to see if they had a class in public speaking. And in Arkansas, if you're over 60, you don't have to pay for the tuition. All you have to pay is your books and you can go to class. Well, so I called them up and I said, you know, what, do you have a class in public speaking? And oh my gosh, the lady on the phone got so excited. She was like, oh, this is their second day of class. The last time you can get in. If you come right now, I can get your paperwork done real fast and you can get into that class. And oh my gosh, 45 minutes later, I was sitting in class. And I was like, wow, that door opened. It shoved me right in there. So I think, you know, I think that you can be going along just fine. And then all of a sudden things change and your environment isn't where you need to be anymore. That things just, you know, doors shut and other things open. And so it's time for you to follow the flow. Just go with the flow. So one should not try to prevent the law from its work. Why do you suppose that is? Why should you not? Why should you try to prevent the? Why should you not try to prevent the law of cause and effect, from its work?
Because you have somewhere else to be and learn.
Well, then you kind of prevent you prevent the person who is supposed to be learning something from learning what they're supposed to learn, I guess is how that would work.
Well, when there's a cause, there's always an effect. And so you really can't stop it. You're just going to frustrate yourself trying to stop it.
Yes, yes. So say you've got kids, you know, you're supposed to keep kids out of trouble until they get to be 18 or so. So most of the time you can do that. But when after they get to a certain age, you know, you got to let them experience karma on their own. And so if you try to get in the way of something that they did that the law isn't going to like, then, you know, chances are you're going to get in trouble too. So you can't, you just have to let karma do its thing because it's going to anyway. So all people have their own individual path to walk and their own lessons to learn about life as they see it. To interfere is to work against the law of cause and effect and may prevent the entity from learning its lessons at that time. So as hard as it is, sometimes you just have to let people reap the karma that they got coming. Because if you get in the way, then chances are you're going to get some of that karma. So stay out of the way, let them do it. So it is within the circle of our medicine wheel that all of our actions and thoughts are mirrored back to us. And this is how we learn. Because remember, it says that all your thoughts and actions are mirrored in your environment to teach you the importance of living in a relaxed and loving frame of mind. So if you go out and you're mad at everybody, you think this is the apocalypse and you're supposed to be mad at everybody, then oh my gosh, can you imagine what that frame of mind would get you out there in the world? Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
Yeah. So yes. So when you freely give love, compassion, wisdom, healing, kindness, or even material goods when they're needed by anyone the Great Spirit sets in your path, you show yourself to be a child of his family. and in return receive all these things which bring you closer to him in spirit. Hemiosis Storm says, our teachers tell us that all things within the universe wheel know of their harmony with every other thing and know how to give way one to the other except man. Of all the universe's creatures, it is we alone who do not begin our lives with the knowledge of this great harmony. Well, that's because we've been given this pesky thing called free will. So we can decide whether we want to do that or not.
Mhm.
So if you decide to freely give things to the people who the Great Spirit sets in your path, then you show yourself to be a child of this family. Such is the condition of a true child of the Great Spirit who has learned to give away. You know, back in the olden days, back in the when the Indians still had their tribes, whenever they would move, they would it can only take what you can carry because that's all you got. So anything else they had was extra, they would put in the middle, and let anybody who needed something take from that pile. And so people didn't go without because everybody had something to share. And that's one of my friends, every winter he makes up several gallon bags of one of these glad bags that you can see through, and he puts a pair of socks and maybe a pair of gloves and a toothbrush and toothpaste and maybe a bar of soap and a washcloth, or just little things like that. And when he comes to somebody who's standing on the corner well, with a handout, he will hand them one of those bags. So they've got something, especially in the winter, people can hardly be without gloves and socks and stuff. So that's what he does, is tries to help. And so whenever one gives from the heart, says Hemiosis Storm, he also receives. The medicine power is within all people and all of the things of the universe. The power has been generous in his giving and has taught us understanding so that we might also give. Well, so the law of cause and effect says whatever you put out is what you get back. So if you spend a lot of time trying to do good things for other people, or just trying to do a good deed for somebody every day, let people in when they're trying to merge and open the door for somebody, that kind of stuff. Then good karma starts coming back to you. And pretty soon people say, boy, you're just so lucky. Things just happen for you. So all that is needed is to practice the teachings. It is the understanding and application of the law of cause and effect that helps to give medicine people their power. And that's because we're using it to our advantage. It's something that you can use to your advantage, because whatever you put out is what you get back. Twyla Niche says, my grandfather's teachings are very simple. Each person, for instance, should ask him or herself 4 questions that can serve as guides. Am I happy in what I'm doing? Is what I'm doing going to add to the confusion in the world? What am I doing to bring about peace and contentment? And how will I be remembered when I'm gone? All of us come to this earth walk as I am to learn how to become we are. In doing this, we're concerned 7 generations into the future. And really, when I think it was last time we were talking about how a generation they usually consider is about 20 years, So 7 generations, 7 times 20 is 140 years. And so we said that the cycle of rebirth was about 142 years if you live to be 70. So really what you're doing when you're planning for 7 generations into the future is you're saying, I want it to be better when I come back. Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to come back in 140 years or thereabouts. So it's only through learning to harmonize with this great law that one can truly find freedom. Tecumseh, or Shooting Star, says, from my forefathers I take only my existence. From my tribe I take nothing. I am the maker of my own fortune. And then I don't know how you pronounce it. Candy Arok says, I am master of my condition and mind. I am master of my own body. I have the absolute disposal of myself and I do what I please. I am the first and last of my nation. I fear no man and I depend only on the Great Spirit. And really, that's what we have to depend on is the Great Spirit.
Mhm.
Twyla Niche says, when we honor the great mystery, we are at peace. So our medicine wheel contains within it all the things and experiences that we need in order to learn those things that lead to perfection of our spirit. All that is needed is to practice the teachings of good medicine. To take care of our brothers and sisters and remember that we are all family.
Mhm.
Black Elk says, I am sending a voice to you, O Wekantanka, to you who have always been and who are above all things. You are the chief of all things. Everything belongs to you, because it is you who have created the universe. Upon this great island, you have placed our people, and you have given us the wisdom to know all things. You have made us to know the moon and sun, the four winds, and the four powers of the universe. We know that the generations come from and return to that place towards which we always face. Upon this straight red path leading to where the giant lives, that we have walked in a sacred manner. Of all the created things or beings of the universe, it is the two-legged men alone who, if they purify and humiliate themselves, may become one with, or may know, Wekantanka. And then Eli says, then go then high up on a mountain to a place secure and holy, and there pray unto the Father that he fill your heart with wisdom, fill your heart with understanding of the teachings of the wise men.
Oh.
So let's look at these questions.
Sorry.
The Meiosis Storm says, all things within the universe wheel know of their harmony with every other thing and know how to give way one to the other, except who? Who is it?
Mankind.
People, yes. People don't know how to do that. Why do you think that's so? Why is it we don't know how to do that? Every other thing knows how to do that. You know, they all have it, this instinct. It's the group mind of whatever it is, you know, and it tells it what to do. Well, we have this horrible thing called free will. And so we don't have to follow instinct. We can, if we want to be loving and be nice, you know, we can listen to our better angels. But most of the time we listen to the other guys. So
Well, doesn't ego have a lot to do with it also?
I'm sure. Mhm. Yes, because if I don't have to follow the better angels, you know, I'm better. I know how to do this better myself. That's kind of how we are. So this world is a school for the children of the Great Spirit. What are we progressing from, and what are we progressing toward? What do you think?
I was thinking like that tree from one of the past lessons. And so ultimately we're progressing to be one with the Great Spirit.
Yes, yes. So we're progressing from the mineral, animal, you know, all that stuff below us, from the unaware, and we're trying to go towards the spirit. So yes. How are we helped in this progress?
The
What
law
teaches
of
us?
cause and effect.
Yes.
The lessons we learn from it. Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Because you know they say that there's no learning without problems. Isn't that the weirdest thing? You don't really you go and you know you're on like autopilot and you just everything is fine until you go to work, you know, you come home, you have supper, you watch TV, you go to bed, and you repeat the same thing every day, every day, every day, until finally, oh my gosh, you wake up one morning and you got a flat tire. Oh my gosh, what do I do now? I got to think. Ah! So yeah, problems cause thinking. They say no problems, no thinking, no thinking, no learning, no learning, no growing, no growing, no changing. So you got to have problems, apparently. It's terrible to think that, but apparently that's true. So what are the concepts of good and bad? How do you know when you've done something good or when you've done something bad?
Well, whatever shows up around you, since everything's a reflection.
Okay, yes, you can see it in the people and the things that happen around you, but you can
We also have-
also yes.
I was just going to say, we also have an innate gut instinct, I think. We know.
Yes, you feel it. You can tell. Well, I didn't do that quite right. I should have said it better than that, and that made me feel kind of bad. So I should work on that. Yeah, so So, why should we not try to prevent the law from its work?
Because then people won't learn the lessons.
That's right. You prevent them from learning their lesson, and that's a valuable thing. So why would it be non-productive for the law of cause and effect to extend between lifetimes?
Because you don't remember and you wouldn't know.
That's right. You wouldn't know what you were being punished for. So what would it teach you? It wouldn't teach you anything. How can you tell that you've strayed from your path or not living the good medicine?
Bad karma.
Yeah, things get rough and difficult, and all of a sudden you're going, "What's going on?" Things were all nice and everything was happy, and now it's a mess. What's going on here? So even though you were doing just fine last month, maybe something happened this month, and things are not quite so good anymore. So you got to figure out, well, what happened to throw everything off? So what is the giveaway, and why do we need to practice that?
The giveaway is giving away. It could be possessions, it could be love. And when you give, you also receive.
Yes. So the Great Spirit sets different people in your path that you need to deal with. And so if we try to help them out, try to give them what they need, then that also helps us, because whatever you put out there comes back to you. Why is it that we have to learn to give away the gifts of the Great Spirit in order to truly receive them? Can you give me an example?
I think love would be one.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. That's easy. Can you think of another example? Why is
I
it?
missed your question. Is it the gifts of being a giveaway? Is that what you're asking?
It says, why is it one must learn to give away the gifts of the Great Spirit in order to truly receive them? So love is a great example, because that's an easy one to see. If you give love away, you get love back. So, yeah. What else what would be like, what else can you give away? You can give away wisdom, healing, advice. You can give away material goods. So let's see. Why is it that one must learn to give away in order to truly receive the gifts of the Great Spirit? What do you think? What did it say in here? That we have to show our love for our brothers and sisters, to show that we're part of here. When you freely give love, compassion, wisdom, healing, kindness, or even material goods when they're needed by anyone whom the Great Spirit sets in your path, you show yourself to be a child of his family, and in turn receive all these things which bring you closer to him in spirit.
Mhm.
So
If you give If you give your time and your effort, I think that's important too.
Yes, okay, that's a good example. Your time and your effort. They say all it takes to be a good parent is to show up, is to be there. So I don't know about that, but it sounds like a good idea. So, how does the law of cause and effect determine what your medicine wheel reflects back to you?
Depending on what we give.
Say that again.
On what we give.
You're breaking up, I'm afraid. Let's see. How does the law of cause and effect determine what your medicine wheel reflects back to you? Well, I guess whatever you put out is what you're going to get back, right? So if you put out, yes, Geraldine, so it depends on what you put out there, what you get back. Exactly right. What are some of the teachings of good medicine that lead to the perfection of our spirits? Can you think back? What are some of the teachings you've learned? Boy.
Understanding that we are all one of the same consciousness.
That yes, that we're all family, that we're all created from the same spark of creation. Yes, that we're all related. That we have a common spiritual father, no matter what you call him. I like the name I like to give him is the one who has many names. Yeah. And we learned in the circle, we learned about the tree of life and all of our relations. And then we learned about the wheel of life and how many lifetimes we have to go through. Oh my gosh. Oh, the world of the spirits, where there's mortal and mental, and the two parts can separate permanently or temporarily. Again, our personal medicine wheel, where we find good medicine that leads to health and happiness, and bad medicine that leads away from health and happiness. And then cause and effect, the reflection within the wheel. Whatever we put out comes back to us. Yes, and these, I'll tell you what, this philosophy, it makes a big difference how you look at the world. So if you can take just a few minutes every day and just look at a paragraph and just think about that one paragraph, how that fits in with your life, how you can see that in your life, then it will help you to look at your life that way. And that helps you to have medicine power. It says, what is it that helps a medicine person to attain medicine power? Well, see, you have to have that viewpoint of the world, that we're all related. We're all brothers and sisters. And so with that idea in mind, then you're trying to help the tree grow all the time. You're trying to help them, you're trying to help you, you're just trying to help the whole thing. And that's what gives you your medicine powers, because all the good that you put out it comes back to you, until finally somebody just says, well, I don't know why every time you call there's an opening. You're just so lucky. So yes, try to find a good deed to do for somebody every day. The more you can do, the better it gets. So do you have any questions about the law of cause and effect? Well, I tell you, I really enjoyed this class. It's always so sad to see it end. But you're all welcome to join me for the Wisdom in Living, which is basically common sense ideas that Mark Twain says isn't so common anymore.
What night of the week is that class going to be on?
It'll be on, let's see, the philosophy is on Mondays and Tuesdays, and the Wisdom in Living is on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So our USA class will be Thursday night, and then the catch-up class will be the following Wednesday.
Okay.
This
So-
is getting so confusing for me.
At
I'm
the same
telling
time, at the same time, will it be 7:30 on Thursday nights?
Yes, for the
Okay.
East Coast.
And will that start this Thursday or next Thursday, or when will it start?
When will it start? Okay, well, I have to take a trip to do some initiations, and so we're not going to be able to start again. I'm hoping to be home by the weekend of the 15th
Of March?
of March, yes. And so I think it'll be probably the 20th of March when we start that one.
Will you send us an email, or should we just do we come to this site?
Well, I have a different one. So unless you absolutely do not want to be part of that Wisdom and Living class, you have to tell me that, because otherwise I will just flip you all over there. And then you'll
Okay,
be in this other group.
I'm ready to be flipped. But I see where I need to, like you say, daily, or at least a few times a week, go through our lessons just to
Yes.
remind ourselves.
Yes. Well, that's a good thought, Geraldine. It applies to how you treat yourself and your mind. It sure does.
Sure does. Misty, so in addition to that class that you're flipping us all into, the initiation leads us into, what's the name of the other longer course that we can
The
do after we're
Kaylee-
initiated?
The Keli, Kaylee is how it's pronounced. It's a mental magic course.
Okay.
We're going to do that on Mondays, and I'm going to try to start it before Mercury goes retrograde, because I don't want to wait until April to get started. So my first class is going to be the 10th of March.
Okay.
So if we
And
start,
you have to
Mhm.
be initiated before the 10th to go into that class, correct?
Say that again.
So we have to go through initiation before the 10th
Yep, sure do.
class. So what about the people that are being initiated on the 13th or the 11th or the 12th?
Well, they will miss the first class,
Okay, got it.
but that's okay, because I'll hand them the lesson, and they can.
Okay, thank you for that.
So that's what you have to do if you miss something and you want credit for it. Is you just fill out the answers to the questions in the back of the lesson and send that in. But really, the Kaylee classes, if you miss one, then it's totally up to you. It's not required that you come to everyone, but your magic will definitely be better off if you. The more of these that you try to attend, the better your magic will be. So try not to miss any. But it's not required. I mean, if you want to come, that's okay with me. But every time you come, you'll learn a little bit of something that will help you.
How long
And
does that
yes,
sorry. How long does that class last? And then when would you start again?
I'll start again next year. It takes about a year. In fact, we will go right up into Christmas if we're starting in April, or when we start.
Those lessons actually kind of build on each other. So, yeah, it really is good if you can get to each one.
Especially the first few, because there's a lot of exercises that are really
Yeah.
helpful. So about the first 15 classes have exercises to practice. So, yep, those are really good. And the thing is that you look, what you learn at your initiation is never spoken of again. If we talk about the 3 sacred arrows in the class, we just talk about them like that. We don't explain what they are. And so you get the explanation and you get a demonstration of how they all work during your initiation. And then you're set free to go practice whatever you want to practice on. And as you practice, you will learn that there's some things that you need to know. So, and these lessons will help you figure it out. So the more of these that you come to, the better off your magic will work. Yes, yep. They're all good. All really good. So I really have enjoyed being with you guys. I sure hope
Me
I
too.
get to
Safe travels.
continue on with the lessons. Thank you very much for coming, and definitely come to the Wisdom in Living and the Ancient Legends, because they are totally mind-blowing. They will take what the Bible tells you and expand on it.
Are you going to put those on Messenger as well, like you've been doing with this class? Or how is that going to work? How do we know when that starts?
Well, I'm going to put you into a chat group on Messenger, kind of like the philosophy class where you are now. And that will have all the messages for the Wisdom in Living class.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
So we'll do it kind of just like we're doing this one, except it'll be on Wednesdays and Thursdays instead of Mondays and Tuesdays. That's the only way you can keep things straight. Philosophy first, then Wisdom and Living. I tell you what, when I first started this out, I thought 1 class a week was totally too much. Now I'm doing 5 classes a week. I can't believe it. So it's gotten real fun. It's been really a fun thing to be with you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you, Misty. This has been wonderful. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Have a lovely evening, everybody. I hope to see you
too.
next one. Bye.
See you on the 20th.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.